Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be another classic Halloween movie review for you guys, because most of the times I've been doing reviews for these Halloween reviews, they have been for horror movies. They haven't really been for anything except for horror movies, and the reason I emphasize Halloween is because the movie I'm going to be reviewing to you guys is in no way a horror movie. It is in no way anything that has to do with horror. It doesn't even have horror elements to it. However, it is considered one of the best movies to watch during Halloween. Is considered the biggest cult classic of all time, and it's a movie that I've wanted to see pretty much my entire life. And that movie is the 1970, not the 1970. I think it's 1979, I believe. Let me. I don't know this. Seriously, I don't know the date for this movie. That's fantastic. Oh wait, I do know the date. 1975. Musical comedy classic, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. This is a movie I've wanted to see for so long. My entire life, I've always wanted to see this movie. I've always been very interested in this movie. And I know what you guys are saying. Why are you watching this and not a horror movie? Why are you reviewing this? Because I really wanted to. I really wanted to watch this movie for the first time this year. I am so happy that I finally watched it, and I was so looking forward to it. This was actually, guys, my most anticipated of the movies I was watching. I know that's sad, but, like, it was so highly anticipated, especially because when Glee did that Rocky Horror Picture Show episode, when they did that episode, I personally really liked that episode. I know a lot of people hated it, but I was really interested in the movie. I really wanted to find out more about the movie. However, I was too young to watch it at the time, and now I can finally watch it. And now that I finally watched the Rocky Horror Picture Show, what do I think of this movie? This movie is a fucking masterpiece. It is by far the weirdest movie I've ever seen in my life. It is at the same time hilarious, amazing, mind fucking crazy, sometimes even like it goes very far for a lot of movies. It has a very weird ending. But it is a very good movie, and I definitely recommend all of you guys check it out. It's probably one of the musicals that I think that if you're not a fan of musicals, you will definitely enjoy this movie for a lot of reasons. I'm going to talk about why. But let's just get to the plot of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Now, this is not a movie that is very consistent. It's not a movie that has a consecutive plot. It is not even your typically structured movie. And I'm going to talk about why. But basically, this movie is about these two, this newly engaged couple, Brad and Janet. They have just randomly got engaged. They just attended a wedding for someone, and they just got engaged. And they go to find this doctor, basically. They want to find a doctor. And they end up on a, cold and rainy night. It's raining and everything. And Brad just wants to find a phone. He just wants to find out some place with a phone so they can find out where they are and everything. And they end up going to this nearby castle, where basically they find this really weird convention, Transylvanian convention going on, and they slowly find out that they are with a bunch of freaks, definitely, basically a freak show full of people, and that's basically what this movie's about. It's about them and with this weird experience, and basically how it turns their life completely upside down. And that's basically what the Rocky Horror Picture Show is about. And I really, really love that plot of the movie. I think it's a great plot. And the thing about the plot is that it sounds absolutely ridiculous. And the whole movie is completely ridiculous. It is ridiculous. But as ridiculous as it is, it just works. It does. I have no idea how to explain it. It's not something that that is easy to explain, but it works. I don't know how. It just works, and it's perfect. And let's just talk about this movie. First of all, this is probably going to be a very different review from most of my reviews. First of all, this movie, let's talk about the acting. The acting is perfect in this movie, because if you guys don't know, this is actually a parody of B movies. It's an extreme parody. It parodies a lot of cheesy B movies. And it has that low budget feel to it, which it was meant to have. Even the 20th Century Fox logo, it feels very cheaply made, and it's supposed to be done that way. And I think that's awesome the way they did that. And because of that, the acting is extremely campy and extremely over the top, and everyone does such a great job. I'm gonna save the best for last because you have to. First of all, we have Susan Sarandon as Janet. She is absolutely fantastic in this movie. Absolutely hilarious at points. She is so over the top and so funny. And, she has that classic line, "I'm cold, I'm wet, and I'm just plain scared." Of course, she has that classic line. She did some very good singing this movie, definitely. She has one of the most famous songs in the movie, Touch, Touch, and Touch Me. That's one of the most famous songs in the movie, and I think she did an amazing job with that song. I personally thought she was great in the movie, and she was hilarious, and just everything about her was fantastic. Barry Bostwick played Brad. He was so great. I loved how straight-laced he was throughout the entire movie. So funny. Loved his character, and just again, I love that basically he just took the whole movie seriously. It was hilarious to watch. Richard O'Brien. Richard O'Brien is actually the guy that wrote the songs to this movie. He had a lot to do in this movie, actually. He plays Riff Raff, but he also did a lot more. He wrote the book for the musical. And he actually wrote the musical to this movie, because this is a Broadway musical. This was not the first time these songs were made. This was for a Broadway musical. And what I love about his character is that these lips right here? That's him singing. He just put on like a very feminine voice, and it's absolutely hilarious to watch him sing. I personally thought he did an amazing job. I thought he was absolutely hilarious in his role. Riff Raff is a character you will definitely never forget. I loved his character, definitely. His character actually had some very interesting things going on, which I thought was definitely really interesting. And I thought his character was just so good, and his character just absolutely fantastic in the movie. Great. And you can definitely tell that everyone in this movie was just having so much fun. And the other two people to talk about is Patricia Quinn as Magenta and Neil Campbell as Columbia. They're kind of the same type of role. They're just there to be side characters, but they're definitely very funny. They each have their own amount of screen time. They each have their own memorable scenes, and I think that's great. Columbia is like this basically tap dancer and this groupie, basically. And the other thing I like about this movie is they all have stereotypes. You know, Janet's the heroine, Brad's the hero, Riff Raff's the handyman, Magenta's the domestic, Columbia's the groupie, and then you have Jonathan Adams as Dr. Scott, who is absolutely hilarious. He is a rival scientist of the main character, which we will get to. Then you have Peter Henwood as Rocky Horror, who is definitely a very interesting character. What I definitely like about his character is he's a very innocent creature. He's created by the main character, basically to be sort of like his creature. He's supposed to be a parody of Frankenstein, and he ends up becoming very innocent because of something that happens in the movie. Meatloaf as Eddie is absolutely fantastic. He has a shortest role in the movie, shortest amount of screen time, but he's such a memorable role, and it's so funny what happens with his character that I definitely will get into in the spoilers, because it is a spoiler. I don't want to ruin it because it's just too funny. The guy I got applauded this movie, though, is Charles Gray as the criminologist. Holy shit, this guy is absolutely hilarious, because here's the thing with his character. Think of, like, Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock. You know how straight-laced Alfred Hitchcock is, you know, with his, like, good evening and everything? He is playing this movie so straight-laced. Like, there are so many times where I was surprised by how, how he could keep, like, just a straight face throughout the whole movie. Because basically what he's saying is just nonsense. He's saying this nonsense. He's narrating the movie. He's saying a bunch of nonsense. You don't care what he's saying. Everything he's saying is just absolutely hilarious, and I thought he did such a great job. He actually added a lot to the movie. At first, I didn't realize why his character needs to be there, but then I realized, oh my god, it's just like a parody of narrators in the movie. He did such a great job, and again, you could definitely tell everyone was having a lot of fun with the movie. But of course, you have to talk about the best for last. You have to talk about what makes this movie so memorable. You have to talk about the best part of this movie, which is Tim Curry as Dr. Frankenfurter. Tim Curry, this guy's amazing. The way he can go, I reviewed 2 Tim Curry movies for you guys in the past month. The way he can go from Pennywise and then play Dr. Frankenfurter is just amazing. This is by far the best role I've ever seen Tim Curry play. He is absolutely fantastic in this role. And the thing about his character is that he's a very complex character. He's the scientist. He is a transvestite. He, is bisexual. There's a lot going on with this character. He's basically the main antagonist in the movie, but as much as he is the antagonist, he's also the protagonist. Now, it makes sense if I talk a little more about this character, which I will get to in the spoilers, but I thought his character was definitely very interesting. I wasn't expecting them to go as in-depth with his character as they ended up going, and I thought that was definitely very interesting, and definitely made me actually care about his character. That's one of the things this movie actually does. It gets you to care about the characters. And the thing is, you're thinking this movie is just crazy. It makes no sense at all. And I'm just going to tell you guys right now, there are a bunch of things in this movie that make no sense at all. There's so many plot twists that happen. None of it makes sense. but you just go along with it because you're enjoying it so much. And I think that's just absolutely fantastic. And one of the things I definitely loved about the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is how you went along with it and didn't care that it was, didn't make sense. You don't care that it didn't have to go with the plot. Because this movie doesn't have much of a plot anyway. It's just structured as, oh, they're just with these crazy people. And the cinematography of this movie is absolutely fantastic. Cinematography, I love. I just think the cinematography is just absolutely amazing. The choreography, wow. The choreography is absolutely fantastic. Definitely, the songs are so memorable. Someone said all the songs in this movie feel very similar. I could kind of understand that, but they still hold up today. I mean, for 1975, this movie has amazing songs that go, that are still remembered today, especially Time Warp. That song always gets played during Halloween. And you might be thinking to yourself, how is this movie a Halloween movie? Because it defines everything that Halloween is. This movie is actually about freaks. And Freak Show, American Horror Story Freak Show, in my opinion, this is a really fucked up, even more fucked up version of American Horror Story Freak Show than Freak Show is. And I think that's awesome that they did that, because here's the thing. They each have their own sort of stereotype. They're each a certain way. And I definitely think it's very interesting. We'll definitely get to that when we get to the spoilers, which I definitely want to talk about. But, the only other thing I will say is, as I said, the music is extremely catchy. There's some songs that'll just blow your mind. There's some songs, I'm just going to warn you guys, if you watch this movie, these songs are going to be stuck in your head, definitely. This is a movie where the songs are very memorable. And the way this movie is done is it's basically 5 minutes of talking and then song. 5 minutes of talking, song. 5 minutes of talking, song. It doesn't matter. There's not much dialogue to this movie. It's mainly just singing, which I had no problem with because I was so into the singing and so into the songs. But it works very well. It doesn't drive you away from the movie. It works perfectly because this movie is just the perfect definition of a Friday movie. There's a reason why I waited to review this till Friday. I was planning on watching this earlier in the week, but I didn't. And that's because I waited to review it on Friday, because it's the perfect movie to watch on a Friday night by yourself, have a great time with it, and you'll have a lot of fun with it, and I definitely really enjoyed that. But now let's get to the spoilers for Rocky Horror Picture Show. If you guys have not seen this movie, I'm going to spoil some of the best parts of the movie, some of the funniest things about this movie, and actually some parts of this movie actually got very dramatic. Oh, one other thing I do have to say about the editing. If you watch this movie, make sure to watch the UK cut. Please watch it, because it gets rid of a very good... The US cut got rid of a very good song. I have no idea why they cut it out of the movie. They should have never cut it out. It did not need to be cut out, and just please watch the UK cut, okay? That's all I'm going to say. So now let's get to the spoilers. So, of course, we actually find out in the movie that Frankenfurter is not actually a transvestite. He is basically jealous of, he's kind of like, in my opinion, what Elsa is in American Horror Story Freak Show. Now, it doesn't exactly make sense, but if you think about it, it really does, because think about it. He is an attention whore. He wants attention from people. He basically is doing this because he wants attention, and that's the whole reason why he's doing this. We see in the, in that song, the floor song that he does, that floor performance, where he makes them all, where he makes Brad, Janet, and Dr. Scott all do that, performance with him in the, in the floor number. The floor show, whatever you call it. When he does that, we actually find out that he thinks of himself as like this actress from King Kong, and he wishes he could be as pretty as she was. And I was surprised by how deep the movie actually got. In my opinion, I thought the movie was actually pretty deep there. I know a lot of people say it's a very fun movie, but the movie kind of leaves you with a sense of, like, the movie, you actually care about his character, and I think that's interesting, because his character is basically the main antagonist in the movie, but you actually really cared for his character, and I thought that was definitely very interesting, the way they did that. The other thing I really liked, of course, was when we found out that basically, we realized that he does this to everyone, that basically, Riff Raff tells him he shuts people out, Columbia tells him how he shuts people out, he spits people out, because he's so obsessed with the idea of fame, and so obsessed with the idea of performing. And the reason I think he performed the cabaret number randomly is just because that he's so obsessed with it. He wants to perform. He likes the idea of it. And that's why he dressed up as a transvestite, because he wishes that he could be like that, but he's not. He's just an alien. And of course, the ending is really weird, of course, when Riff Raff ends up killing Columbia and Rocky, and Frankenfurter basically saves Brad and Janet. And the other thing that I definitely really like about the movie is the ending with superheroes. The reason that I feel like it should not have cut superheroes is because superheroes is basically what we are thinking. Brad and Jan are trying to process the events of what just happened to them. The events of, their experience with them being in this castle. They have no idea what just happened. They are very affected by it, like we are, but they have no idea how to process it. And I think that's why Superheroes is such an iconic song. And I feel like that's why it should never have been deleted out of this movie, because it works perfectly at the end of this movie. Because if it's not at the end of this movie does not make as much sense. And again, the movie kind of leaves you with sort of like, I don't want to say an uneasy feeling, but it leaves you with a feeling of you don't know how to feel about it. I myself was like, I have no idea how to feel about this, because like I had no idea how to feel about the movie, and I thought that was definitely very interesting. It actually, if you think about it, is a very sad story, because it's basically about these freaks, but they're not actually freaks. They just are people who are basically crazy, but they're basically forced to, do what Frankenfurter wants them to do. And now Riff Raff's finally going to put a stop to it and return them to Transylvania. But you feel bad for Riff Raff, because this is not what he wanted. His mission was to get people to follow him, basically help him with his mission. And, that was definitely very interesting. The other thing I want to talk about, of course, is Rocky. Rocky was a very innocent character. Rocky was definitely very innocent. Rocky was very different from Frankenfurter. And I think it definitely is very interesting about Rocky's character, is how innocent he was. Oh, of course, Eddie's scene, I gotta talk about this. Eddie's death is by far the funniest death scene I've ever seen. Literally, I love how he just walks in, and the second he starts singing, Frankenfurter just kills him. It's hilarious to watch. It's so, so funny. And the other thing I forgot to talk about this movie is the movie has such a big cult following. I mean, this is one of the most quotable, movie that is quoted the most, and it still is in theaters to this day. It has never left theaters. Never has this movie ever left theaters, and I think that is absolutely fantastic. And there are certain things, there's one theater that plays this movie every single night, and there are certain traditions you do. There's actually something going on in my theater right now, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, The Experience. Basically, there's a scene where, Frankfurter makes that toast in the dinner scene. You're basically supposed to throw toast to the screen. Or when Brad and Jan first get married, you throw rice to the screen. I think it definitely is very funny how, much of a cult following it has. And it's worked perfectly with the movie, because it really just shows how mind-fucking this movie is. Really, it is crazy. Also, for 1975, this movie goes really far. I mean, a lot of sexual stuff in this movie. Probably the most sexual movie I've ever seen. There are times in this movie where you feel like you're watching a porno, just because of how graphic the sex is. There's no nudity, but it's graphic in the sense that, like, moaning loudly or what's going on. There are times in this movie where I really felt like I was watching a pornography. I really did. I feel like that was the intention, though. They wanted you to feel that because of just how out there the movie was. They advertised this movie as you've never seen anything like Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I heard people say that this movie is basically, you can classify it as its own genre. I highly would agree with that, because it's not a comedy, it's not a sci-fi, it's not a drama, it's not an action, it's not a horror movie. It's everything, pretty much. It's pretty much everything that you have in a movie. And I really definitely enjoy that about the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And that's definitely something I will always remember about the movie. And I think that's absolutely fantastic that, that's in the movie. I think that just is fantastic, definitely. But overall, guys, I love the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I think it is an absolutely fantastic movie. It is definitely a movie that, when you guys watch it, you are going to definitely not know how to feel about it in the end. I know this was a bit of an analysis. I know you guys think, why did you just analyze Rocky Horror Picture Show? Because in my opinion, I was very affected by this movie. I want to talk about why I feel like you need to analyze it. Let me know if you guys saw this movie. I know a lot of you are probably going to be very happy I reviewed it. And once again, guys, I absolutely love this movie. This movie actually did have a sequel called Shock Treatment. I have no idea how it was. I heard it's not that good of a movie. But I don't know. I haven't heard good things about it. But that's basically for this review. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I will see you guys in my next review, which will be my review for the series premiere of tonight's episode of Constantine, which is actually on right now. I'm going to watch it right now. And I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.